Okay, time says 10:30, so we'll respect everybody's time here and get started. I want to welcome everyone here today. I'm Carrie Anderson, Senior Vice President of Member Services at the Minnesota Realtors, and we're happy to have Dr. Jessica Lautz with us today to do a short webinar on some of the surveying that they've been doing and some data that she's going to share with us today. So I will start by introducing her, and then I will turn it over to her. Dr. Jessica Lautz is Vice President of Demographics and Behavioral Insights at the National Association of Realtors. The core of her research focuses on analyzing trends for both NAR members and housing consumers. Through management of surveys, focus groups, and data analysis, she presents new and innovative ways to showcase results. Jessica discusses research findings in major media outlets and international presentations. She received her doctorate of real estate from Nottingham Trent University in the UK. She also has a master's in public policy from American University and undergraduate degrees in political science and law and justice from Central Washington University. So Jessica, I will turn it over to you. Thank you so much for being with us today on a Friday.
Thank you so much. I hope that it's better weather for you guys there. We've had beautiful weather here, and now it's supposed to actually snow tonight in May in DC, which is completely unheard of. I am trying to grow my own kale and lettuce because I can't get them from any Instacart delivery or Amazon Fresh. They just always are sold out. So I was trying to grow my own, and now I what to do. You guys are probably experts in this and could probably message me to tell me how to save my vegetables and herbs that I'm trying to actually produce, grow. So obviously not my expertise in gardening. What we are doing though, which I seem to know something about, is we're doing a weekly survey, a flash survey of our members. The survey is going out to 100,000 random sample members. And we're looking at how the coronavirus is actually shaping the real estate market today. What are clients doing? What can members do right now? How members are quickly pivoting their business, and they really are, to be able to serve clients in a way that they have not before. What we know is that there is a pause in buying and selling right now. When we look at buyers and sellers, about half are actually taking a pause, and this is reported by realtors to us in this weekly flash survey. What I will say is that this number has been actually pretty consistent in recent weeks. We have seen that people are saying that I'm taking this temporary pause. This is not something where I'm stopping my transaction altogether. In fact, less than 10% of people are stopping their transaction altogether. We're seeing that people are either saying, I'm taking a pause for health, for welfare reasons, or because there's not enough homes on the market, which we have seen that people have removed their homes from the market, or because they are in a situation where perhaps they're furloughed or they were temporarily laid off, planning on being rehired when the economy is given the go button again. And so we saw today's jobs report, and that absolutely is impacting some of the buyers. We actually see about 1/5 of home buyers are saying they're taking a pause because of either current job concerns or concern for their job in the future, so they don't feel confident moving forward with that transaction. When we look at what we see for tech tools, we really see that there has been a change for our members. For the people who are in the buying and selling market today, they likely are in a situation where they do need to move forward with that transaction, and they feel confident doing that. They're in a solid job situation, and perhaps they're going through some change in their family life. So a divorce or a marriage in which they would need to move, and they do need a new home. So we do see that our members have quickly adopted and very impressively adopted technology tools like virtual open houses, virtual listing appointments, virtual tours, and you can see that the quick adoption for both buyers and sellers, but also for potential clients who are not yet in that actual active transaction point, but they're meeting with that realtor via Zoom, and they're meeting in other types of webinar type platforms or communication platforms where they can have that personal connection, and they really are craving that personal connection and using that to actually work with their realtor right now. What we also know is that for people who are in the real estate market, it seems to be that they're a buyer or a seller who needs to move this transaction quickly. So we actually found, and we have consistently found for the last several weeks, that a little more than a quarter of recent buyers who put down a contract in the last week actually put down that contract without physically seeing that home. So they only saw that home virtually. Perhaps they have in hand a home inspection report along with the virtual tour, but they only saw that home without physically stepping into it. So that, I think, is a fascinating transition. The only comparable number, because we've never surveyed on this before, we really didn't have a reason to, is from our annual profile of home buyers and sellers survey. If we look back last year, we did ask how many homes did you go into, and for the buyers who went into 0 homes before actually buying that home, it's actually only 3.5%. So we're talking about a massive increase in realtors who are working with clients who are going forward with us. The other thing that we know is that if people need to go through with this transaction, they're doing so quick. So traditionally, people look at about a dozen homes and then they put a contract on them. Last year, that number actually shrank to 9 homes before people put a contract on, because inventory was so tight, especially at that lower price point for people entering the home buying market. And right now, during the coronavirus, we're actually seeing that people are only either virtually seeing or in person seeing 3 homes before they put a contract down. So that, I think, of, these are the homes at my price point, these are the homes that are available in the market, this is where I need to be, either commute, schools, dog park, whatever it is that's really driving that buyer, that neighborhood choice, and then they're putting that contract down. That's an interesting change. The other thing that we know is that sellers are really making a lot of behavioral changes to keep everyone safe. So sellers agents are making sure that people are either wearing, if that home is physically viewed, that everyone is wearing masks, gloves, foot covers, removing their shoes before viewing that home. So not only the buyer, but the home inspector, the appraiser, anyone who would physically come into that home. In some state and local areas, there's obviously stricter rules than others. In some, you can only have a limited number of people within the home, including the people who are going to have the mortgage or buying that home. So maybe 2 buyers on that home, they're the only 2 people who can go into that home at once. So not even bringing the realtor in with them, having the realtor sit in the driveway, and then the realtor could go in at a different point or maybe not. The other thing is, not having the extended family who actually financially could be contributing to that home. Mom and dad often play a role in that. So not dragging on that showing with all of these other individuals within the home. Also making sure that the traffic is limited with all the windows and the doors open, so there's airflow within that home as well. When we look at this, we know that people are making that transaction happen. There's very few people who have not made changes to their actual behavior. So the one thing I'll say about the survey is we're changing up questions every single week, and I'm going to highlight a couple of the changes as I go through a couple more slides that we asked last week. The other thing that we're putting out on a weekly basis is called a weekly housing monitor. We're putting out a lot of blog posts throughout the week. Obviously, the unemployment report today, this doesn't fall on a Thursday. We want to put out information on it. So that's going to be included in the weekly monitor. So it's essentially, for lack of a better word, it's a newsletter. We compile all of the regular information that we're putting out, but then we also include all the special stuff like blog posts on this as well. All right, so let me go forward. We're going to have pent up demand. If people are in a situation where they didn't want to be in their home, or they even thought that they didn't want to be in their home in the back of their head, and they thought, well, maybe in a few years I'll move on from my current situation. I think what we've done essentially is put America into an Instapot. All of these households are basically very quickly cooking up their situation so that they need to make a move from that. So whether that means that you're living with mom and dad, you were saving a little money, you were going to get your own place in a couple of years, or whether that means, hey, I was close to retirement age, but you know what? now I'm furloughed, now I'm probably just going to take retirement, maybe I'm going to downsize. I think that we're going to see a lot of changes coming out of this, where people are going to say, I either need a different space because I don't like physical space that I'm living in, or I need a different situation so the people who I'm living with. We're going to see some changes there as well. Definitely hearing that coming out of this from other countries, that things like a baby boom has been happening. Things like divorce rates have actually been going up as well. You see on both the happy and the sad side of this that essentially we've put people in homes and sped up and fast forwarded perhaps things that were already happening. What we do know, and what we asked in our recent survey, but what we actually have information on from past research, is that I think the needs of families are going to change, the needs of individuals. We've already seen that a quarter of young millennials are actually moving to small towns, purchased homes in small towns last year, before coronavirus was even on the radar, was even a thing. We already saw that young adults were saying, I need affordability, I want space, I don't necessarily want to live in a city center. It has a lot of benefits, it has the walkability, it has things to do, but it's not necessarily where I want to buy my home. So we actually have seen millennials purchasing in small towns and suburbs over the last few years. And that's a really interesting trend that we've already seen. We did ask on our recent flash survey, if you were already working with a buyer from the realtor perspective, have they changed their living requirements? So are they saying, I want to move out of a city center into the burbs? And we actually saw that 5% of realtors did say that. The baseline number, we're still in the midst of this, but I think that that's a number that could shift and could change in the next year, 18 months. We could see a change in that. I also think, and we are asking this, we did ask this last week, the home features that people are actually wanting now that perhaps were not on the wish list. Immediately, and the top of that was the home office. It makes me laugh because I live in a house where my spouse is also working from home. I live with my adult sister. She's working from home. We all work at different associations. We're all trying to jockey who gets the kitchen table, who gets the basement rec room, who gets the one office that we have with the closed door. I get that right now. But we're jockeying for that space. So I said, we need another desk. So I went on Wayfair this week and I was like, we're gonna buy another desk. We're just gonna commit to it. That way we'll have a committed office space. Someone's not trying to cook while the other person's on a conference call. And I went to Wayfair and pretty much every desk is sold out. So I think this is a fascinating trend. But when we asked this in the survey data, yes, 13% of realtors said that people who are working with home buyers, yes, their needs have changed. Home office is the top one, but also having a good yard for exercise, for space, but also very, very interesting. Also kitchen was on there, but very, very interesting. People are changing who they're living with and who they expect to live with. So space to accommodate an older adult relative, and space to accommodate a new baby, and space to accommodate a new pet. We've seen shelters around the country have actually cleared out with this crisis. So we are seeing that there's new additions to the home and they need space for all of those people along with personal space. All right, moving on. We already know, and what we have seen is that 1 in 6 Gen Xers and younger boomers actually purchased a multi-generational home. This is a really interesting trend. We've already seen this increasing for a number of people. And so I think we're going to see a continuation of this, especially with, unfortunately, the recent job losses. I think you're going to see that someone who has a stable job will be able to perhaps provide for other people. We're also seeing, and we've already seen, that there was a massive retreat from city centers during this crisis. So New York City, Boston, DC, young adults who are living there in apartments, high-rise condos, have elevators, have hallways, shared doorways. They went to their family's home. And a lot of them moved out of that situation into the burbs so they could stay with their families during this time period. Perhaps they thought it would be a couple of weeks, and now it's turned into a couple of months. But I do think that that's a shift that may continue on as people say, you know what, it's great to pool resources. It's great to be able to cook together and spend this time together. We could see this change. Another thing that could be happening after this is that first-time homebuyers could be seeing a very narrow credit box. We're already seeing that some lenders have tightened their credit requirements for jumbo loans, and this is something that could impact first-time homebuyers. We know that lenders are working a lot with refis right now, and so it's hard for first-time buyers, and it has been hard for first-time homebuyers to enter the housing market. I'm very curious to see what happens because there's a couple factors here that could be at play. And I think I have a slide on this, but one is student loan debt. And one of the very first stimulus packages, student loan debt interest rates, if you had a federal loan, were actually reduced to 0%. So essentially like a zero interest credit card. So people could really tackle that debt, or they could tackle a different type of debt right now and really try and pay that down and save for a home, especially if they went back home to live with their parents right now. But you could also see with this tightened credit conditions, with lower inventory now than we've ever seen before, that this really could be a problem for our first-time home buyers. We also just put out a report because of the down payments that have increased for some mortgage lenders. They actually increased their down payments to 20%, the credit scores to above 750 for buyers to enter the market. It's very difficult to obtain both those things. We put out a report looking at down payments over the time period. And so we know that the typical down payment for a first-time home buyer has always been under 10%. And for even repeat buyers, it's very unusual to have that high of a down payment. And we also know that first-time home buyers rely a lot on help from friends and family. A third of them actually enter that transaction with the help from friends and family financially. One of the things that I think could change is that we could see more co-buying, buying as roommates. We've actually seen that share increase to 4% from 2% last year, increase over time. I know that there's been a lot of talk and flutter about people who are living by themselves right now and the struggles that they're going through independently. I'm sure that if you have young kids, you're going through your own struggles right now. But having that living independently, I think we could see some shifts. We've already seen that single females have been declining in recent years, and I suspect that's more from an affordability perspective and less from a desire perspective. But we have seen unmarried couples and the share of roommates has been increasing. So we could see a continuation of these trends. That has yet to be seen though. Watch for a baby boom. There certainly is a puppy boom going on right now, but we know that we have more than a 30-year low in birth rates in this country. This is something to watch for. The number one reasons why people don't have children today in comparison to past generations is financial. So they don't have the cash to be able to have children with them. And so whether that's actually adding a second child to the family or having any child at all, we know that this is a huge impact. So coming out of this though, we have seen from other countries that there is a change here. So we could see a change coming out of here as well. The store could definitely be coming. If there is, that is a shift that is a driver for homeownership and purchasing a different home. The other change too, and I referenced it twice now, so I'm just showing off all my animals here. I have 4 cats and a dog, and they are really annoying, and I watch them out of the room right now. We do know that animals are a huge driver in location choice, but also the type of home that's wanted. So close to a dog park, but also a big fenced yard. So we know that this is important to animal lovers. And this is something that could change as we've seen these shelters across the country clear out. As I mentioned, the alleviation of student loan debt could be happening right now. This is yet to be seen. We don't have data yet to show if people are trying to tackle and pay down their student loan debt or take advantage of zero interest loans. But I think that this is something that could happen. What also could happen is that all student loans automatically went into forbearance if you were on a federal student loan. So you don't have money coming out of your account right now. So perhaps you're tackling other debt or just helping to pay for food and utilities right now, which is very difficult if you have lost your job to be able to do this. So we could see this go either way. The other thing that we did ask about in the recent survey is we asked members if they're working with sellers right now to actually DIY some projects and tackle them so that when stay-at-home orders are lifted, or once that potential home seller feels more confident to move forward in that transaction, if they can just flip a switch and they're ready to go with their house and put it on the market. We actually saw overwhelming numbers that members are saying that half are actually working with potential sellers right now to help them DIY some projects. So perhaps bringing that phone around and FaceTiming and saying, yeah, these are some struggle points. How do I fix this home up so that once I can go, I'm ready to. We've been doing research on this as well, and we've seen that spending has absolutely increased for working on yards, looking at projects, spending at the big box retail stores, so that people really can tackle these projects, and whether they're having the things shipped to their house or actually going to these stores. I think that depends on the local area, but we are seeing that spending on trying to make your space better has definitely been increasing. One of the things I want to make sure to plug is we have Right Tools right now at NAR right now. You can take advantage of free resources, including right now, mid-year is being streamed, many of the sessions for free. So you absolutely can take advantage of Chief Economist Lawrence Yoon is speaking this afternoon for the commercial sector at the commercial for the Trends Forum, and then next week for the residential. But you can also download publications for free, take courses for free. ePro was one of them that they offered early on. And all of these are available for resources as we're all taking a moment, trying to educate ourselves better, sharpening our saws so when we have the go switch, we can get back into it. That's what I have for prepared remarks, but I am absolutely happy to take questions. Oh, and I can cover my plants with a light blanket or towel. Bring the pots indoors from Minnesota. Thank you guys so much. That's really appreciated. Thank you.
And I hope you're not still having daytime freezing temps, but you never know, I guess.
Nope, just nighttime tonight.
Yeah. So far, does anyone have any questions for Jessica? Nothing's come in, so I'll give it 1 second, but oh, there's one, Jessica, that just came through.
Okay. Yes. So the typical home buyer or the typical member who worked with a client who put an offer on a home in the last week only viewed 3 homes, and a little over a quarter of them only saw the home virtually. Buyers viewed 0 homes before making a purchase, moved from 3.5 to, so it moved to a little over a quarter from 3.5. It's not an apples to apples comparison for either one of those because one's from the buyer's perspective and one's from the member's perspective, but we do know that these must be very shocking numbers when we compare this. We will do the profile of home buyers and sellers, which is from the buyer's perspective again this summer, and we're going to break that out, the data, so that it's pre-COVID and post-COVID so that we can really see the impact of it.
Anyone else, anything before we sign off? We did record this today and we will put it on our website for reference. I don't see any other questions, Jessica, so I think that's great.
Oh, there was one more that came in, and I actually did write that note down in front of me, and I inadvertently didn't say it. Do we anticipate to happen to the overall sales volume over the next few years? So for the second quarter of this year, we do expect the numbers to be down quite a bit. The forecast that we have put out is down 39% on a nationwide scale. Of course, there's going to be some differences in states where real estate activity has been restricted. But year end, we expect sales activity to be down 13 to 14%. I would say that the good point here is that home prices are expected to at least stay flat, if not go up. Our forecast is actually predicting a 1.3% increase in home prices by year end 2020. So there has been extremely tight inventory. So that is the one spot where I think that as homeowners and also working with clients, that's a positive. right now.
And then someone just gave you a kudos.
Oh,
Thanks for sharing your knowledge. Love your presentations. So.
Oh, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. I know it's a tough time, but I am optimistic that we're going to see the other side of this. And I do think that I'm very impressed when I see the data of how quickly everyone in the real estate industry has so pivoted and been able to work with clients in such a unique and engaging way. So.
Great. Well, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Have a great weekend, everyone. It is Friday, even though we can't tell the difference anymore.
No.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Jessica.